buy access software for a follow-up game from Mean Street's Martian Memorandum, and we were able to license the technology for that for our first product. And because we had a commercial engine that had some proven success, and we had a really good design. I mean, we actually spent so much time on the storyline and the design. That's what convinced the people who owned the engine to license it to us. And we actually did a deal where we didn't have to pay anything up front for it, and it was like all on royalties. And they were cool with it because we were just really trying to make something happen, and we were just totally gung ho. And that's how we really got the ball rolling, and we wound up hiring some freelance like artists, and we just kind of scraped together money to get the project going until we got a publishing deal for it. And it was really hard. I was in college when we got the first publishing deal, and it took us 2 years to finish that game. It wasn't as big as as I thought it was going to be as far as like making a splash in the industry, but that was like primarily because we were working on it for so long. The technology got kind of outdated, but it was still a really cool game. I did a couple of different games, a couple of titles before we really moved on to Terminus, and I was finishing college at the time. And by that point, I kind of got smart enough to say, all right, we're going to have to find some really good coders and people who really know what they're doing. And that's what we did. I found like people in college who I knew who were really good, and they all wanted to like break in. And that's how we really formed the company and got it going. And shortly before I graduated from college, we got actual venture capital from investors who were willing to back the company. And we built the company, based off of that. And during this whole time, I had worked like several different jobs to keep this thing going, and worked at a couple of different companies. One, a publishing company, as well as a hardware company called Forte Technologies. They developed the Gravis ultrasound sound card and went on to do the VFX1 VR headset. And I was able to do like tech support. I did trade shows. I didn't get paid for doing trade shows. I just went to trade shows. They like paid my bill, and I worked my ass off, and I like met a lot of people within the industry, and that's how I really got to meet people and try to make deals happen. And right now the company's at about 18 people. We're going to moving to a new building that's under construction, and we'll be at like 30 people like in the next month. We've got Terminus, which will be coming out later this year, and we've also got some PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and Game Boy Color projects in the works that we've got some publishing deals for. So, it's been a long time. It's been like 8, going on 9 years or so since originally had the dream to like want to be in the games business. And now it's pretty cool because we're bringing in like people into the company who've been in the industry for several years, like really kick-ass project managers and coders and artists. And we all have like the same dream. We're still a small company. We want to make some really innovative stuff, and that's kind of our goals now. Learned a lot by doing it, and learned a lot of things that we shouldn't do. Number one, biting off like too much for our first project. Finishing a game is so important, and it took us forever to finish that first game because it was so huge. And I wouldn't do that again. But I mean, there's a lot of lessons.
What about Terminus?
Well, yeah, Terminus is like way out of control as far as like the scope of the project, but that's like almost 2 years in development, and independently financed. But it's a product that we believe in. It's something that we have to do, and because we're so damn stubborn in that sense, we'll get it done. But in any case, there's a lot of lessons that we've learned, and a lot of things we won't do again. And in hindsight, there are better ways of breaking in than the way I did it, but you get a lot of experience by doing it. You got the scars to prove it, That's pretty much it.
We've really identified 2 key things here that you really have to have just to get into this industry, and that's persistence pays off, and having the passion also. The passion for myself and my brother Glenn over there, started from when Pong came out, and then like the next game I remember playing was Tank. Just a stand-up arcade, and then 2 sticks there, and the little thing moving around, and that was it. And then, we eventually started getting more consoles, and then we even went as far as buying a couple of stand-ups like Tempest and Asteroids Deluxe, and it was an obsession, plain and simple. We just wanted you know, to have every different type of gaming, you know, platform out there, you know, read all the magazines. That's something else I really can't stress enough. You know, Next Generation magazine, as well as some other magazines out there, there's so much information in there. You know, so many key contacts also. You know, a lot of people that I'm calling up, you know, trying to get these people interested in GamesCon, you know, I just steal these names directly from Next Generation. You know, Bernie Stoller in charge of Sega. Okay, fine, you know, and then I work on getting his phone number next. And, you know, so, you know, having that passion and having that persistence is very, very important.
And don't kid yourself, it's a lot of hard work.
Oh, it is.
We all have done our 16 to 20-hour days, weeks in a row. It's a lot of hard work.
I think there's a lot of myths about the industry also. You know, it's fun, you know, well, let's go down the table and talk about that, because sometimes I'm sure it's not fun at all. And then also the money side, you know, getting into it, and like, you know, I'm sure a lot of people think that, you know, everybody in the industry makes huge amounts of money. And I think that is somewhat of a myth to a certain extent also. So why don't you guys just all kind of, you know, chip in about, you know, things like that. You know, how fun is it? How hard work is it?
Actually, I didn't get to really introduce myself. I'm Chris Winters again, Vicarious Visions. I don't know if there's any artists here. I mean, I get the impression most of the people here are programmers, but speaking from another vantage point, again, like everyone else, passion, love for the games, but growing up, again, I didn't know who did these things, how they were done. It was just a big question I just dismissed, thinking this is a dream job and I'll never have it, you know. But later on, going in college, my background was fine art, did graphic design, industrial design, worked for a lot of companies, and a lot of the knowledge and the skills that I learned doing web stuff, doing print stuff, whatever, it translates into any field that deals with art. And later on, when I had the opportunity and I said, you know, I'm working all these hours doing a graphic design job, I enjoy it, but I don't love it. And I'm thinking, you know, I wish I had more time to play some games. And then I thought to myself, well, if I'm working to play the games and I'm doing design, I'm doing art, why not just take the next step and just simply do art and design for games? And now I'm sort of accomplishing my greatest love, and I'm able to put in a work week and get paid for it all at the same time. And so basically it just took me one day to just simply say goodbye to my job, goodbye to my location, start over, and it's been very successful for me so far. But I mean, talking about problems and the dedication, I mean, it's not necessarily always just a leap of faith and you know it's going to pay off. There is an enormous amount of work. I mean, you might get a job and say, listen, we need this whole game done in 3 months. 3 months. And you got to do all the work, you know, all the animation, the CG design, complete artwork from scratch. And it's so easy to just simply say, sure, it'll get done. But then you realize you got to translate this into hours. And pretty soon you realize, well, okay, maybe 2 hours a week to sleep. You know, it's about all you got that's left. But again, if you enjoy what you're doing, the days just go by relatively quickly. And I mean, no matter what snags I've personally had, you know, when it's all done, you actually see this thing up on the screen and you're playing it and get a couple hours of sleep and you know, you realize that you had a good fun run doing it. So, anyone else want to talk about the trials and tribulations?
Well, I think, you know, I can't stress, you can't really think too much about the hours, because it's just a lot, and it can get overwhelming at times, and it can get very frustrating as well. And you kind of, you know, it's almost like in some cases, depending on, you know, how far you are along in getting into the industry or making yourself a success, you kind of have to make a lifestyle choice in a way. That sometimes you're going to have to just work so hard, and everything else, you know, has to come second, and a lot of sacrifices and some really tough choices.